Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
I'm here with a nice woman named Cynthia, who's agreed to let me record this. You can benefit from her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, plus her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Cynthia?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your food story and then what happened.
Well, okay. My food story started many years ago. I'm 65, and it started probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I had a very loving family, but circumstances happened, and in my preschool brain, I interpreted them as meaning I was not good enough or less than, or I had to change to be accepted. Now, this was all exacerbated by the fact that I'm a total outlier in my family. I have 3 older sisters and 2 parents who are substantially different than I am, especially as I was growing up as a child. They had a lot to teach me in terms of self-discipline and things along that nature. But because I was always looking for that inherent acceptance of who I was, the lessons didn't take. I always felt like I needed to be fixed, to be accepted. I grew up always looking at other people as being better than I was, or comparing myself to others, if that makes sense. I found comfort in food, and I learned early on to deal with emotions, stress, and anything with food. And like a lot of your clients, I ate a lot, sneaking food and eating at night and all those things. And I could never get a handle on it. I'd go on diets and I'd lose weight. But then once I reached the goal, it was like, okay, now I'm fixed. Now I can eat whatever I want, like all these other people that I see out in the world, and then I gain the weight back and whatever. So lots of yo-yoing. I never got grossly overweight, but it limited my life because I was never good enough for myself. I didn't do a lot of things because I felt like my weight showed all my inadequacies to the world. I think at the time I was still looking for that. I just want my brain to be fixed so I don't have these urges at night, because I would literally get afraid at night as to what I was going to do. I felt like I had absolutely no control over what I did, unless I was in a control mode. But I knew when that was not happening, and it would just be like literally I was entranced to go to the cupboard and get anything I could get that was unhealthy to eat. I think I recognized that there would be work involved on my part. I'm thinking back, and that's what I'm guessing. And fast forward to August, and I'd had a very stressful time with a friend who'd come to stay, and she ended up staying for 3 months. So the minute she left, my pig just is like, okay, it is our time now, baby. So let's get to it. And I started eating again, and I was just in despair because I couldn't stop and I didn't know what to do. I clicked on a link, and you were having the intensive. Was starting in a couple of weeks, but I was going to be gone the first week. I was on vacation the first week. And so I didn't know if I should, but in the end I did. I'm so happy I did, because you've changed my life. I can't believe I have no urges at night to eat. I have other stumbles, but that nighttime eating is gone.
What was it about the intensive that helped you to stop overeating at night?
Well, I think for one thing, it's the accountability. I think that was very helpful, and I really needed that initially, and I think it's still helpful. But the key, I think, that made your program different from even some other programs, which I tried, that was a total disaster, was because I was allowed to make my own rules that fit me. And I was very deliberate about not being too restrictive because I knew my pig would go crazy if I did. And I still do. If I'm hungry, especially late afternoon, I may eat quite a few calories before dinner. So I wasn't ever starving to the point where I felt like I had to make up for it and become out of control.
You kept your body flooded with nutrition at a reasonable calorie level so that you didn't have overwhelming urges late at night.
Yeah, it really helped me control. But the key, the absolute key, was your concept of the pig. And I know, yeah, you say it should be a wild boar, and I can see that. And at first I'm like, a pig? I don't know. But then I'm like, just go with it. For me, it was like magic. I could never disidentify with that voice. And I did cognitive-based therapy, and thoughts create feelings, create actions, create consequences, prove your thoughts. And it's just a thought, change it. I couldn't. I did the family thing. I think, whoa, I've got this wounded child, because I did. I had some counseling and understood what happened to me as a child. It didn't help. None of that helped. It was the ability to say, that is not me, to be able to hear it. It's just been such an ingrained habit. It's no longer about what I did or thought as a child. It has nothing to do with that anymore. I'm an adult now. I'm a different person. It had to do with that habit and that neural pathway that was so deeply ingrained. And your conceptualization of the pig helped me identify it and refute it.
It helped you to aggressively separate your constructive versus your destructive thoughts. That's what it helped you to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Were there any specific refutations that were helpful to you when you recognized what the pig was saying and you knew that it was a lie? Anything like that happened?
I think all of my refutations have been helpful to go through the whole process and not just write down the pig's thoughts and say why it's lying, but go through and why does caging the pig make me a better and happier person? And then like trying to distill it into some kind of mantra. My pig is pretty basic, and I guess maybe a lot of people's pigs are, but a lot of it was, oh, this tastes so good. If this tastes good, more will taste better. Or this feels so good. If it's wine, more will feel better.
How did you refute that?
I say, well, it doesn't matter what it tastes like. And what feels good is reaching my goals. Taste is not a reason to continue eating. My big why, this is a spiritual imperative for me. So I just have felt like I could never be the person I was meant to be until I got a handle on this nighttime eating. So for me, I'm 65. How many years do I have left? I could have 30, but I could have a lot less. And I don't want to end my life without feeling like I've dealt with part of what I'm here to deal with. And so that's just overrides any kind of taste for me.
I love that phrase, the spiritual imperative. I hadn't heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
And so you were able to move beyond the pleasure principle. First of all, you realized when your pig was operating on the pleasure principle, saying, well, it tastes good, therefore we need more. And then you could separate from that pleasure principle and say, well, no, I don't need to just eat as much of things that taste good as I can, because then I won't fulfill my spiritual imperative. I won't do what I'm on this planet to do.
Yeah, exactly. I've had some stumbles. It's interesting because I keep a sporadic journal. And I've been so busy with this program, I haven't been good in keeping and writing down anything, but I did look back, and I was ending my second week in the program. And in my journal, I wrote, I can't believe how my life has changed. I have no urges at night. It's like, this is a miracle. So it was that fast for me. And the first week I know wasn't easy, and I stumbled a couple of times. But in terms of that basic issue, it was that fast of a turnaround for me.
Beautiful.
I listened to your podcast, and I know once you had talked about aligning something you want to do with something you don't want to do with something you want to do more, something like that. My first rule was about not eating past 8 p.m. And then also having a sundown ritual. So I put my hand to my heart and say, my nightly fast has begun. And then I go brush my teeth when I get up from dinner. So
you put your hand on your heart?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It's a promise to myself
I see. Beautiful.
Yeah. Because I'm retired and I'm not a structured, disciplined person all the time. Like I do love time without boundaries kind of thing. I have struggled with getting into a productive morning routine. So I have some things I do that are productive, but then I wanted to do a little bit of yoga or Pilates every morning, and I was never able to get myself to do it. Well, my second rule was I will never have my morning coffee until I do at least 5 minutes of yoga. I've never missed a day. It's never a struggle. And I always do more than 5 minutes, unless I'm really pressed for time.
Somebody really wants her morning coffee.
Yeah. It's one of my indulgences, right? And I do a low-fat vegan diet. And I could cut out more and more and more, but I have to.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you feel better.
No, you don't. No, you don't at all. I mean, I'm saying that for myself. But then again, it's a social thing for my husband and I to go out and have a coffee or.
I was underscoring it because of the structure of the rule making.
Yes.
A lot of times people come to me and they've got an always rule that they're having trouble following. And I'll say, well, what's something that you always do already, no matter what? And they'll say, well, right. I always have my morning coffee.
Yes.
I say, well, okay, well, I'll never have my morning coffee before I've done X minutes of whatever it is they're trying to get themselves to do. Right.
Yep. And I heard that on one of your podcasts. So that's how I incorporated it.
Gotcha. Cool. What else?
It's just been a cascade of changes. And it's almost like I'm willing my big why into existence of the person I want to be, because I don't procrastinate as much. I'm just more productive overall. I'm happier. I'm more easygoing. I'm more willing to go out and socialize. Not that we socialize all that much, but I'm more willing. I don't look at everyone and judge them because I'm wondering what they're thinking about me. I've lost 10 pounds. I'm about 7 pounds, 6 pounds maybe from my goal weight. So I don't feel any urgency with that because I'm so close. I feel great. I heard you use a phrase, is the juice worth the squeeze, on one of your podcasts. So I'm like, yeah, my goal weight, I don't know if the juice will be worth the squeeze, to maintain that, but I'm going to get down there and I'll see. And then
it takes a lot to level out at your ideal weight.
Yeah.
You can do it, but it does take a lot. So some people hover a couple of pounds over, and yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I just feel so relaxed. And even when I stumble, I'm not panicked. And they are stumbles. They're not like completely full on eat the cupboard binge.
That's because you've recognized that there's no such thing as powerlessness.
Right.
When you make a mistake, you haven't lost your power. Haven't you lost your ability to decide what goes into your mouth?
I had a mantra that I borrowed from someone. I think it was a podcast. I have not come this far to only go this far. So that's one of the ones that I like and I use.
Oh, that's great.
And then you had said, if you're not extinguishing your habit, you're reinforcing it. So I like that one too.
That's why every moment that you put something in your mouth, it's an opportunity for self-love or self-harm.
Yeah. And my stumbles have mostly been around getting into situations unexpectedly where I don't have enough to eat. I don't eat in the mainstream, and I live in Central Florida, and there are many restaurants with absolutely no nods at the vegetarian or the vegans. So I'm working through that with my coach, I guess. And I've got goals. I want to be more mindful when I eat. I'm thinking about how to do that. But everything now is a problem I can solve. And I know you had said once that if you don't have squeals, you don't get over them, right? You have to have the squeals to get stronger.
The only way to kill a craving is to have a craving.
Yeah.
The only way out is through, we got to face this thing. We got to walk into the dark forest and face it head on, keep on walking. If you're going through hell, keep going, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get through hell when you finally decided to do it this way? How long did it take?
I think it was just that first week. I just had my one rule, don't eat past 8. And I think by the end of the first week, I was feeling pretty confident with that. I had all the squeals. I had the character squeals, you're going to fail down the road and all of those. I just kept refuting. I've got new situations coming up in these unexpected situations where I'm maybe socializing and not making good choices. So I'm going to work through it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do better next time. I mean, that's just my attitude. It's like I'm in this for good. So
is there anything I can help you with in the last few minutes we have?
I think I'm good. I love your program that you've made. I'm so grateful that you have put this together and are working so hard to help people change their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I don't think so. Such a pleasure to talk to you, Glenn. Thank you so much.
A pleasure to talk to you too.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye. You too.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.